Well, I will show you this much. Whoops. Once again, the channel metal shaper, very clear and precise instructions on what to do on these things. We're certainly not working on a Chevy at the moment, you know. But anyway, I'm looking for between 1 and 6 thousandths in play, and we're getting 7 to 8. So I'm gonna have to take a shim out and see how that goes. And then we have like a ton of shims on the right side for some reason. So I'm gonna get a couple thousandths out of this, and probably a couple 100 thousandths out of the other side, and then we'll be done. Well, just for the record, so when I forget, for the owner, and we say, what did I need again? If he ever wants to do this, I hate leaving things like this, but I just could not, with the shims that we have here, I can't remove anything and get it within that spec of 1 to 6 thousandths. Everything just tightens up too much. So I've got to leave it like it is. It's out of spec 1 thousandths. Metal Shaper Man actually, let's see, I need it to go this. He actually prefers 6 thousandths, and he seems like a guy that's done a bunch of them. So we're not out much, and both sides were actually even at 7 thousandths. So I will leave that up to the owner. He's wanting to come get this, I would even say within a week or two here, and so I've just got to get it back together, and because we still have to make sure the shift linkage is going to work. Boy, that's kind of tight. Am I doing this wrong? No, I don't think so. So, for the record, why doesn't that one go through the stinking hole? Man, it's like I'm gonna have to drill these out. For the record, the left side has 60 thousandths worth of shims. The right side has 70 thousandths worth of shims. Both sides gonna have to figure out how to remove somewhere between 2, let's say 1 to 5, even 1 to 6 thousandths, remove that from those values. So there you go. Need to go grab some more lock nuts, but we're going to cinch this down and move on over to the other side. I'm going to show you the proper way of rebuilding these brakes. First of all, the springs are stronger than a junior high kid with his first can of Brute, So we use the tools God gave us and put them to work here. Yeah, we got a clip that is missing, actually. Okay. I'm not going to have one of those. Great, great, great. Not going to have one of those here. Let me specify that. So I guess this is on hold. Alright, well, I'm getting it back on. I just cannot believe how strong all this hardware is. The springs, amazing. But I guess it's gonna work that way, right? this last clip in, and then this side is done. Too bad I can't see anything. I can't do a Rubik's Cube, but I can do this. So who's the genius? I don't know. My son, however, can solve one in 40 seconds or something like that. So, okay, maybe I can't do this either. Well, I was missing this little guy, little horseshoe clip on this side, so I had to bring one from home. Kind of bringing a note from home, you know. Make sure your mommy's seen it. Anyway, I don't know what all that meant, but this spring, that thing is amazing. You cannot work with it. It's just too darn stiff. So, we gotta do this number and get that started. And then that is how I will begin to put it on. Now is the time that it'd be really handy to have another set of hands or one of those kind of needle-nosed vice grips, you know. But I don't have either. You know, no one wants to hang out with me, and I'm not spending money on tools, so we're just up the creek, right? Okay, so we're just going to take a dikes here and squeeze that. Hold that spring back. And if I can do this without losing my spring here, we got to get this angled right to go down in there. So far, it's not cooperating. Oh, I know what I did. Hold on. I took this piece of brake tubing and jammed it in there so it would hold the lever. Give us a little working room without having to fight against it with our hands. Okay, so do this again. Try and cut the cable in half with a cheap pair of dikes. Probably won't happen. Oh, I lost my tubing. No, hey, back off. Okay, I don't know what's happening. There we go. Okay. Ow! That's my thumb, dude. Okay. Now we gotta fight the spring and get this over there. Okay, all right. I'm going to take our little guy here, go under that tab. Okay. All right, I've smeared some gear oil on the inner surface there where the new seal rides. That keyway lined up. And we're going to tap our new, not a new key, same old key. Tap that in. Alright, get our washer back on there and our nut. Then we're going to take it to 150 because the internet would never steer us wrong. Oh, come on. Gotta be close. close. Okay. How are we doing on our cotter pin here? Oh, we're dead on with this one. I had a bit of a problem on the left rear here, and I still don't know if I'm 100% out of the woods yet. Yeah, it seems to have gotten tight again. I'm gonna have to keep working with it. This drum keeps seizing up when I torque it down. You're supposed to torque this nut down to like 150 foot-pounds and obviously get the holes lined up on the castle nut there and put a cotter pin in it. The washer was way too big. I don't know what's going on there. That was on it. And so if you ever need kind of special, these are called machinery bushings. I got 7/8 because that's the size of the thread, and 14 gauge and 10 gauge. You can get such things at farm and home ranch stores. I'm pretty sure it is something to do with the brakes. Anyway, I kept spinning it, tightening it up a little bit more with the torque wrench, spinning it, and I was able to keep it rotating finally while torquing it, and I got it to click while still spinning. Now for some reason it seems tighter than it was. I don't know. Everything measures out fine. The diameter of the drum versus the outside diameter of the shoes. The thickness of the shoes is correct compared to the old ones and compared to the drum. Oh, but I'm gonna keep playing with it, but I'm not sure what's going on there. So I see two things that might be going on here. Maybe three, and I'm not sure if I can prevent all of this. We'll find out. I see a lot of rubbing on the corner, which that could just kind of happen anyway. And I see shiny streak there, and at this point this shoe is proud of the metal backing frame piece. So, you know, it's not overlapping anywhere else but there. What I'm going to start with doing, I think, is I am going to take the drum home, I'm going to clean it up on my lathe, and I'm going to bring back my belt sander, and I'm going to sand the lower half of this shoe down, at least get it flush with the metal, and then I may chamfer our edges, because it is very shiny all around the inside. If you can see that or not, or if I'm just washing it out, but there is a definite shiny line all the way around in there, which is very strange. This should not be bottoming out like that. So I don't know if our taper of our axle is worn, is letting this thing go on farther than it should be. I don't know. What's the guy supposed to know here? Anyway, that's what we're gonna try. Well, it's time for a new plan. Ran it home. The arbor of my brake lathe is too big to go all the way through the taper. I mean, it just comes right up to the end and says no more. Then I have a new, to me, Atlas brake, or regular lathe, which is like from the 1940s or 50s. You haven't seen it yet, you probably will in the future. It's a 10-inch lathe, and so this drum is just barely too big to get it in the chuck, you know, and start spinning it. So unfortunately, I cannot turn the lathe with anything I have at the moment. So I am going to, you know, do some very fine, boy, I should have looked at this belt before I brought it. I think my sonny boy's been using it a little bit. And anyway, and I'm going to very precisely and accurately, I mean CNC tolerances here. Well, I got a second out of that belt. Oh boy. I have 2 inches of belt left. All right. Back at plan 402, I noticed that the inner lining of the drum was rubbing on the backing plate. I don't know what's going on, why this all didn't happen previously. Nothing has changed, except perhaps for the order of the shims and the gaskets from when I took them off. I'm pretty sure that I got them on correctly, so that could, all of that could feed into this, I suppose. But anyway, I took it to the old back at plan dad-in-law's shop over there and used their bigger lathe there and got that trimmed down. So I really need to run, but I wanted to see if we got anywhere here. A pin in, or a key in again. And get this on. Trying to do this as quickly as possible with you. Looking hopeful. Pinhole. You know, I can turn it by hand, which is a great sign. I know there's a hole in that spindle, or in that axle. There it is. Okay, just a squeak more. Got 3/4 of a hole showing. There we go. That ought to work. Finally. Okay, well, we are getting closer to letting this thing back down on all 4 paws. My lovely bride was kind enough to stop in and help me bleed the brakes. You know, she doesn't mind bleeding them while I sit in there and pump the pedal. So I'm trying to get our brakes adjusted. I don't know why this one is, now that we've done all that, this one's putting up a fuss. See if I can get it back off. Just want to take a look at these adjusters so I know what's going on. Underneath, I have refilled the differential, and I have topped off the transmission and the overdrive unit. I have rebuilt or made a new brake line on the rear axle. I've got that thing we made for the overdrive installed. Okay, that is all the way in. Spring there. This doesn't act like it has spring tension. I wonder if I need to go there. Because that's just completely loose. What else? Steering gear's back in, everything is greased, oiled. Like I say, I'm adjusting. I can bring you in closer. Just trying to get it ready for the road. But we've got lock nuts and bolts, little adjusting bolts. At the moment I'm turning the whole works. A lot of them are just kind of sticky, and so you can turn the whole thing with the lock nut and all. It's got an odd shaped head on it, and so I have to hold that with the pliers when I tighten the lock nut. But anyway, that's what that looks like. And then if you need more adjustment, you do that. I'll put some tension on it here with my hand. So that's what that looks like. You get them to just barely touching the drum, and then you lock them down with the nut. But I'm gonna move that and see if that helps. Drop the ding dang washer on the ground. That's always annoying. Better than the bearing or the lock nut or the nut, whatever. Castle nut. Oh yeah. So we got a freewheeling drum now, which is an improvement here. Just hang out here for a second. I always forget to look where the cotter pin hole is. I think it's on the side on this, yeah. Compared to the keyway. Start with that. And then I don't think the front one moved with the lock nut. It's free. Yeah. So let's just take this guy. It's got an odd, almost kind of ovally chevron kind of shape to the head of this adjusting bolt. They must have had a special tool, which why they would need that back in the day, I don't know. But are we moving? There. No touch. Touch. Did you hear that? Get a different bite on it, see if we can do that a little better. Obviously scraping there, not scraping, and I can just lock her down tight, you know. Okay, we are working good. Okay, so now we move on to what's potentially going to be the most difficult aspect of this project, and that is the mechanical linkage of getting second and third gear. We have first and reverse. We can get into those all day long. That is set up pretty good. This shift rod attached to the 3 on the tree handle, you go forward and backward just like in a Chevy or anything else to get your either first and reverse up and down or second and third up and down. So when we go into second and third, we have this second lever down here, and I'm guessing these have been twisted, though I'm not 100% sure, to accommodate the Chevy engine and bell housing. First and reverse gets the shifting done. It gets the job done. Second and third one does not. It goes up and down. The problem is we mechanically need to get an up and down motion like this translated to a forward and back motion like this. Because I can pop this rod out of here and I can shift into second and third. But there is just not enough forward-backward motion on this to get that done. So I need to study that for a minute and see if I can come up with an answer. What I'm seeing to get the full throw of the shift between second and third, I need 1.25 inches movement. And I have more than that going front to back. If I were to map out, if I were just to map out the center of this hole from this position to that position, it looks like maybe I have more than that. It's kind of hard to tell, but I think I do. And I think I could even bend it a little more and get a little more. So I'm thinking not a Heim joint, but they have, at the hardware stores, they have a deal you can thread rod into, threaded rod. It's like a tie rod, kind of like a Heim joint, but it's got a threaded stud in it already. And if I get one of those, that would take out all chances of play. Part of the reason this isn't working is because just putting a rod in this hole, there is way too much slop in that connection. And I don't know if I can get this in or not here. I don't know why. It's very difficult wanting to go in and out, but okay. And I had my son shifting for me as I looked, and it loses so much potential movement just right there. So I'm guessing I'm going to check again with the tape measure, and maybe I'll even try to bend this a little bit more. I don't know if that'll really help me or not, but I'm thinking if I could put one of those connectors even upside down, hanging down here, that's not going to help our... None of this is going to help our exhaust situation, and he's still going to have to get pretty creative with that, but I just don't know what else to do for the guy, you know. But that's my first idea. If I have more than 1.25 inches from this position to down there, front to back, then I think we'll be in good shape. So I'm going to have to get to the hardware store and grab one of those, and hopefully that'll do it. By the way, the first time I saw that, well, this morning, I was thinking about greasing up this mechanism down here. I put a grease gun on that and started squirting grease. It was only about after a little while, I finally realized that those are threads, not a grease zerk. The gun end slipped right over there and hung on just like it was a grease zerk, and nope. So here is plan A. Here is the second and third shift rod that was in there. What I've got is these things. What do they even call these things? Ball joint assembly. Well, okay. Kind of looks like the tie rod on a lawnmower tractor style thing, you know, at the front wheels. 5/16, that'll fit the hole in the arm on the column there. And then I picked up 5/16 rod, and I'm just going to remake one of these from scratch instead of cutting off an original piece. If that's ever needed in the future, we just have it. Now I'm going to thread the end just like this to use the clevis, and then I'm going to thread the end, same thread. When I get my length set that I want, then I'll thread the other end for this. And then I got jam nut and I got a lock nut, and hopefully we have good news. I find my freedom flying high. Without my wings, you know I'd surely die. I find my freedom flying high. Without them, I would surely die. So, sail on. All right, so here's what I'm going to come up with, and I'm going to test fit it first. Same plan, different method than what I started out with. I originally put a nice S-bend in here, but I need such a curve immediately after the hook point because of the bell housing that I decided to do it this way. I'm just afraid there's going to be too much flex with such sharp curves. I imagine this thing would just want to flex instead of shift, you know. Not that it wouldn't do the job, but I think this is a much stouter design. Hopefully it works. So I'm going to throw it in there and we'll give it a shot. Oh, I wanted that like this. See if we can get you down in here real quick. All right, I got that tie rod end mounted there and following it back. That should do the thing. Boy, that bushing has some slop in it too. I thought it'd be tighter than that, but well, as long as it works. I think I'm gonna take first and reverse rod off. There's not a pin clear up, or there's a pin but not a cotter pin. I might take it out and kind of use a hammer and an anvil and kind of straighten things out a little bit, but get it pinned in there and then we will test it out. All right, it's all just very temporarily installed in there. I don't know if you can get a good picture of what's going on. Everything is so kind of crowded in there. I'm not sure if you can see the shift fork lever on the transmission or not, but I think we're getting our two gears. It feels good anyway. And neutral forward, and that should be reverse and first. I hope. Yeah, looks like that's working. Okay, I'm going to pull it back out, paint it up, install everything correctly, all the pins and washers and the nylock nut on this end, and we can call it done. Man, I'm glad that it's at least hopeful. I'm glad. Yes, I'm happy. All right, a guy ended up making both new ones because as I was straightening this one out, we started getting cracks towards the end. So it's just worn out and fatigued. Fatigued. Yeah, fatigued. Okay, so this is the one we made first, second and third. This is first and reverse. I got a dog leg in there to help get it around that, and then we just did, let's see if I can get you up here. We just did the same thing. Used flat iron for our offset. I cut off the corner there, just, it was close and I didn't want it to rub. And then bring you back here. There we go. So that's second and third, neutral, first and reverse. So that's first and reverse, neutral. Where's neutral? Is that neutral? There we go. And then it's second and third. Okay. I feel like people are just way out of line these days. Influencers making videos on things they just don't understand. They talk down to people. How can they even talk down to people when they themselves don't even get it? Most people completely ignore the metallurgy of hot-rolled mild steel as laid out by Timken and Goulash in Copenhagen in 1929. Get real! We've totally got to stop using that material for everything under the sun. You shouldn't even lay a phalange on a 4.5 grinder unless you've read the book by Sorghum Reconnoiter. Yeah, the guy was a true martyr to the art of metallurgy. You know, the annexation of the iron molecule through osmosis of the carbon emulsion. It's pretty standard stuff, textbook stuff. perhaps a bit less known than his love novel Crucibles of Heartache, but still pretty textbook stuff. I mean, if you haven't read it, you might as well go to the office and hand in your Silver Streak pencil. Should be first. Reverse. Third. Second. That was second. Third. Oh yeah. And we have brakes. Well, we're on the short list now, you know. We're getting down to it of stuff I can and can't do anymore. Went ahead and I pulled, I'm gonna have another whack at the overdrive cable. Went ahead and pulled it out. And I'm wondering if the most of our problem is right here, where it's kind of kinked. So what I would like to do, I can get it to move. I don't know if you're close enough on the camera there. I can get it to move. I doubt that's even 1/4 of an inch. But let's just see if I can get this straightened out somewhat, and then I'd like to pull the cable out. This in the vise. You're a loosey-goosey thing, aren't you? Stuck again. Anyway, you get the idea. I'll let you know when I find something astounding. I've been soaking this thing for quite a few days in PB Blaster, you know, in the vehicle. And I'm sure that's a big part of our problem. Now I'm going to try to take the curve out of the end, and also I'm going to try to re-coil, re-tighten up those coils there. Let's give you a better view of that with a nice mower in the background. Really need to get to tearing that engine down. I've been borrowing a mower this summer, which I don't like to do. Been suggesting to my boys that they should come, that should be something they do as they come and work here, and for some reason they're not excited to tear a Kawasaki mower engine apart. I don't know. Anyway, I don't think I mentioned I did get the cable out. One thing I don't want to happen is just to break this end off. Just seems to want to spin. Well, I may end up leaving this thing. Just kind of get it straighter and let it go, I guess. Okay, there was something about the lining on the very end. I could not get the cable to go through from either direction. Clear on that end. So we drilled it out. Man, this thing is greasy now. Okay. This needs to go that way. Yeah. There we go. These are available. They're a little different style. I don't know if this is the different style or the replacements are, but in any case, we don't have to spend $100 and we don't have to wait on it. Nice. All right, I just talked to the Jeepster man. I mean this Jeepster man, the owner. There were some things, I had 4 things on my list I needed him to answer. One was the overdrive. I think we have that taken care of if it works electronically. He said he had some problems with the kick down button under the gas pedal. Basically, it looks like just a big brake switch, just a plunger thing. So when we take it out, we'll see if that works. He just left the overdrive engaged all the time. He said this thing is geared so low that you might as well, and then at I think 28 miles an hour it kicks in. There's kind of excessive pedal in the clutch pedal down at the pivot point. I put some bushings in there, some more of those washers that I used under the castle nut for the rear axle. That tightened it up a bit, but honestly, if you want to take it all out, you would have to take your pedals into a machine shop, get them bored out perfectly, get them bushed, and then you can put them back on. I will leave that up to him if he wants to do that in the future, but it works perfectly fine. I'm going to install the speedometer cable at the bottom. I've got it down there. I need a bigger step drill to get it installed through the firewall. So I'll hopefully get one of those today. And then the exhaust, like I say, he is going to use his exhaust shop. So I'll probably just put the little piece of pipe back on the manifold that it came with, send along all the pieces that I got for it, and let him have at it. So we are going to drive it here by the end of the day. But one last thing he did ask me to do, he has 3 lap belts. I wonder if you can even hear me in this echo. Yeah. Whatever. So I am going to pop the rear seat out, and we are going to see. I don't know how that thing just folds down. I may have to go get some hardware and so forth, but we can start putting those in. And if all works out well, we will say sayonara. Okay, I won't actually say that. I'm surprised I said it now, to be honest with you. Oh, okay. Well, it's just there, kind of. And then that folds down if we need it to. Got some sweet 6x9s. Oh, there's that thumper. I think 3 people might be a little ambitious. Yeah, if they're small. Anywho, I think what I'm going to do is probably go down lower or in the middle of this more vertical surface here. And put those like that. Should be able to get to that. That's going over the rear axle, that sheet metal. And then being a righty, this would upset my wife because she is a lefty, a southpaw. I would want to grab this and pull that way, I think. I feel it would be, so I might do all 3 like that. I don't know. Either you want to pull the handle with your right hand or the belt with your right hand. And in both cases, you need it. So on to the next problem. Underneath the seat going over the rear axle there where I want to put my hardware, there is copious amounts of fiberglass sheeting and resin. You know, someone in ages past patched up some rust holes and then coated it with undercoating or something. So immediately my mind goes to the fact, if someone's wearing a seatbelt and if they're in a collision, those bolts are, you know, it's going to be, there's some strength there, but bolts could pull right through, right? That's what I'm nervous about. And so I am taking a bit of this small channel iron, and that's going to be a spreader bar on the bottom side of the floor. I will actually weld 4 bolts into this and then stick it up through the floor, and then I will have my anchor studs on the inside. I think that's the way I want to do it, unless the threads are going to be in the way of the bottom of the seat cushion. I don't know that for sure. In which case I would have to go the other way around and weld the nuts, or just leave this loose. Probably should just do it that way. Anyway, if there's a collision, if there's 3 people, if there's 1 person in the back seat, that will spread the force across the entire width of the floor pan with that pull on it. So hopefully that'll be a little bit safer. Hopefully they'll never have to find out. Like our holes. I haven't handed in my silver streak. Okay. Gracious. Silage truck after silage truck. I will get those drilled through and clean this up and paint it. And I think I'll go to town and get some hardware. Take you for a little ride. Better take this with me, huh? A little leery about jumping in the back seat area on the lift, because those arms are not way back there. I really don't need this thing to take a swan dive off the lift. Okay, well anyway, I got that started, so I'm going to let it back down, let the wheels touch the ground here. I have basically the nicest screwdriver I've ever owned, a Cyclone. Okay. Oh, I'm not even ready. I gotta get seat belts and everything. Well, we'll do the first one. Get that started. Go get my impact. Unpack the rest of the seat belts. Alright, I have one more bolt to go here. And that's the one that I temporarily installed. Did I take the nut off? I don't know. I think I did. This cross member is in my... Well, that's painful. Anyway, that's what that's looking like. So we can try it out, you know. Let's loosen that up a bit. There we go. Yeah, I mean, it works perfectly fine for me. Now, a little slip of a girl could be a different story. But I've been corn and Dr. Pepper fed for too many years, you know. A guy could probably, you know, it'd be nice to cut half the extra off, I would say. Get it re-sewn and then it'd be about perfect. But I will leave that to the owner's discretion. Well guys, I have been completely through the electrical part of the overdrive system. Of course, we have the manual part, the cable and the linkage and all of that redone, re-hooked up, ready to go. And we found some issues with the electronics part of it. Got it all working. Didn't have to replace any major components, and everything works. It's kind of cool. On its own, without the overdrive, 45, 50 miles per hour is really the fast that you want to push that engine, you know, which would have been typical of the era, 1950, with basically any car on the road. Usually 55 miles per hour on your run-of-the-mill car, the engine is turning pretty hot, you know. But you engage this overdrive, and 65 really is pretty comfortable. Now it sounds worse on this car at the moment because the exhaust is basically open at the engine. But nevertheless, I was really pleased that everything works. That was the last thing on my list. I had to redo the handles. My middle son took the passenger door, the handle assembly all the way off. We lubed everything up. The square shaft on the outside handle that goes into the lock, that was worn down, ground down, way too small to turn the latch anymore. So I rebuilt that up with weld and got it to a much more correct size, and that works now. I'm just going to finish cleaning it up. I'm going to wipe out the interior, vacuum it, and we are going to say goodbye. By this time next Saturday, so in 5 days, it is going to go bye-bye. So anyway, guys, I hope some of you have really enjoyed this project. I know I have enjoyed getting to work on something different, and it's been kind of fun yet because there are parts of it that are very familiar, you know. So thank you so much for joining me, guys, on it, and we will be on to something new and exciting as we move along. Thanks again for joining me. God bless you. We'll see you on the next one.